What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Hammer of the Gods warrior build in Path of Exile 2. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of the setup, then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on, then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for both leveling and any game. And then finally we will go over the passive tree, attributes, your skill rotations, and even what Atlas passive should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. If you are looking for this build on the website, then click my link in this video's description or the pinned comment. This setup is known as the Hammer of the Gods build, where we are going to be smashing through the enemies by mainly using the Stampede, in combination with the Hammer of the Gods for AoV, and Earth Shatter for single target DPS. By us using Devastate and Armor Explosion support gems, we are going to be doing this massive amount of explosions, and smashing everything and everyone that stands in our way. On top of this, we are also going to be building on our block, which will allow us to mitigate majority of the enemy attacks. And by using this with the surrender, it will transform us into a god that is virtually unkillable, even if you get overwhelmed by hundreds of enemies. So let me show you the build, and for the main class, I have chosen to go with the warrior, and our Ascendancy is the Titan. Then for the first skill, we have the Earth Shatter with the support gems such as the Upheal, Splinter, Fount of Rage, and Brutality. Then second, we get the Hammer of the Gods with the Rage Forge, Heavy Swing, Fist of War, Exploit Weakness, and Lacerate. Then next we get the Seismic Cry with the Dazing Cry and Inspiration. Next we have Infernal Cry with Premeditation, Enrage War Cry, Raging Cry, and the Life Tap. Next up we have the Berserk with the Clarity, Cannibalism, and Herbalism. Next we got the Shield Charge with the Stomping Ground. Next we have Stampede with the Aftershock, Cold Infusion, Momentum, Martial Tempo, and the Close Combat. Next up we have the Leap Slam with the Holy Descent and Rage. And finally, for the last one, we are using the Herald of the Ice with the Cold Mastery, Magnified Effect, Primal Armament, Cold Penetration, and the Long Shot. Currently, this Herald of the Ice buff is completely OP and broken, so if you truly want to maximize your endgame damage, then we definitely want to integrate this skill into our warrior build as well. Most of this setup is structured around using the Stampede and the Hammer of the Gods to delete huge amount of enemies in seconds. So we use gems and skills that will support and increase their cooldowns and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next, we also have a leveling build in case if you are starting your journey from level 0 and you want to use it up until about level 25, where you should start getting our most important skills. So first off we have Mage Strike with the Ruthless and Overpower. Then next we have the Bone Shatter with the Impact Shockwave and Magnified Effect. Next we have the Earthquake with the Bloodlust and Unbreakable. And then finally we're using Infernal Cry with Premeditation and Raging Cry. This is your basic setup, up until you get our build's two most important skills. In the early stages of progression we're using the Bone Shatter and the Earthquake as our main ability combo, as they are very powerful, especially at the beginning. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this melee damage node, and then go like this while grabbing all of these. So Defender's Resolve, Relentless Brutal, Reverberating Impact, and Smash. Then from here we keep on going until we get to these. So Admonisher, Shockwave, Singular Purpose, and the Aftershock. Then next we now go down here and get all of these Shank nodes. Then afterwards we keep going like this and then get these three. So Vigilance, Internal Bleeding, and the Heat Proofing. Then from here we now circle back a little, and from this point just keep on going until the end. And now go to this bottom part and then lastly get the Brute Shank node and the Giant's Blood Keystone. And then from this point you can unlock all the other nodes in whatever order you prefer. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important ones to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then in the late game to make it even more powerful. Also, as far as attributes go, you just simply want to fulfill your attribute requirements for gear and skill gems, and then after that spend the rest of your leftover attributes into more Shanked. And finally we also got Jevels, and the top 3 best options to go for are the increased block chance, then also gain 1 rage on the melee hit, and finally increased melee damage. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to get Colossal Capacity, which provides you with easy 23 extra inventory slots. Then second, get the Hulking Form. This is one of the strongest Ascendancy nodes in the game, which gives us a massive bonus to all the small passive nodes. Then third, we get the Earthbreaker, which gives you an additional 20% chance for your slams to Aftershock, which is a 20% more damage bonus. It also gives you almost a 100% chance to trigger the Aftershock on the Stampede. And then finally we want to go with the Crushing Impact. This will allow our Crushing Blow to heavy stun a lot more consistently, enabling the Devastate and Armor Explosion combo to create massive explosions. In PoE 2, earning skill points take a lot of hard work, so it will be very smart not to spend your points recklessly. Of course, you can refund your passive points later, but only at a cost. So following a specific setup is extremely useful. If you are following this build, then make sure to not to deviate from it, as some of the decisions that I made might not make sense at first, but is going to pay off later. So feel free to use the exact same path as I have right here. And don't forget to check this video's description to find the link for this website, and this should make it easier for you to follow the tree. Next up we have our Atlas passives, and the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or in rituals. So when we start, we want to first of all go to the left side and then get all of these nodes. Then next, now we go to the right and get all of these nodes as well. And then from this point and onwards, you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you want. But then on top of this, we have even more passives, which order in which you unlock them doesn't really matter, so this is again up to you. And this is how it should look like for the ritual. Then next we have Delirium. Then third we have bosses, and then on top of that we have the pinnacle bosses. Then next we also have our expedition setup, and then finally our breach setup. Then in the next part we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Expert Leaden Great Hammer with the crit and weapon speed. And for bonus stats we want increased physical damage, more accuracy, the option for all 4 attacks to always hit, then also increased attack speed, more levels of all melee skills, and leech physical damage as mana. Then on top of this, we also have an offhand called the Advanced Stone Tower Shield, with armor and new skill. And for more we got increased block chance, more to armor, max life, and more additional physical damage reduction. Then for the helmet we have the Expert Elite Great Helm with the armor, and for more we want even more armor, then max life, max mana, and fire, cold, and chaos resistance. Then for chest we have the Expert Steel Plate with armor, and for more we got life regen every second, more and increased armor, then also max life, and cold and lightning resistance. Then for the belt we have the raw hide with increased life flask recovery, and for bonus stats we want max life, armor, more strength, and cold resistance. Then for gloves we got the Expert Riveted Mitts with armor, and for more we want adds physical and lightning damage to attacks, also max mana, increased attack speed, more strength, and fire resistance. Then for boots we're using the Expert Iron Greaves with armor, and for more we want increased movement speed, max life, max mana, strength, cold, and fire resistance. Then for the first ring we got the Prismatic Ring with more percentage of all elemental resistances. And for more we want add physical damage to attacks, evasion, max life, strength, lightning, and chaos resistance. While for the second one we have the Amethyst Ring with the chaos resistance. And for more we want add lightning damage to attacks, max life, strength, cold, and lightning resistance. And then finally for amulet we have the Jade Amulet with dexterity, and for more we got max life, strength, intelligence, and lightning resistance. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is a starter setup which would be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. Then next we have runes. During early item progression, most gear is socked with resistant runes. However, once your elemental resistances have been capped and resistant runes are no longer necessary, then you want to opt in to increase your maximum life with body runes or consider socketing a soul core. So right now on our weapon and shield we're using the iron rune, while for the rest of our equipment we're going with the soul core of Tiquani. And as far as getting this gear goes, by far the best way to get better gear in the campaign is to check the vendor in the town each time you level up, as vendors can change their offerings based on your level, so this is the best way to find upgrades. And then after level 65, you just wanna keep continuing repeating your maps until tier 16. And again, for more in-depth tutorial, check out my gearing guide video. Then on top of this, we need to quickly look into the charms. Charms are incredibly useful, as by having the right one equipped at the right time can save you from dying. If you are struggling with certain bosses, then look into what damage type they are using, and then use that specific charm to increase your resistance. For me personally, I like to use the Amethyst charm for chaos damage. Then second, get the Taving charm for when we become frozen. And then finally, for our last one, we got the Golden charm, for when we kill rares and uniques. But as I said, which one you choose will entirely depend on the enemies that you are fighting. So feel free to experiment and mix and match. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And I will give you 2 rotations, so one for single target and one for AoV. So first up we have the single target. And for bosses, we want to preemptively stack as many Earth Shatter spikes as possible, and then explode them with a seismic cry when they start fighting you. You want to keep doing this until the boss gets heavy stunned, and then use both seismic cry and infernal cry, and then finally finish it off with the Hammer of the Gods. And then second of all, we have AoV, and here simply, while clearing mobs, we want to stampede into the monsters, and alternate Infernal Cry and Seismic Cry between each cast. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my top 3 best warrior builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.